Bujo peeps. Hi, this is Neshi Lilkatz. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page here on Facebook. This is the morning live stream for the card draw information. And yes, I'm live streaming from a different place here in my home. This is my home office, and I haven't live streamed from my home office in a long time, since probably April. Which is really kind of interesting. You might be wondering why. Why is that? I do want to check something though, because I had to reset things up to broadcast, and I want to make sure that you can hear me. So I am going to use my phone just to do a check. Oh, good. You can hear me, which is good. Oh my gosh. All right. So here's what's going on here before we actually get into the actual card draw information. Good morning, Cindy Lynn. So good to see you here with me. Let's see. All right. Technology sometimes is grand, but you have to remember how to use it. Good morning, Cindy Lynn. And looks like Mary Summers has joined us, and so has Mary Anderson Fry. Good morning, ladies. Good morning. I think while I have my phone out and it's sitting right here in front of me, I'm going to like and share the live stream, and I'm going to share it to my my personal timeline. Here we go. And just going to say join me. I haven't done it for the morning live streams yet, so we'll see how that goes, huh? And while I'm at it, I may as well share it to the Star Nations Radio Network closed group. And it doesn't take long. You know what takes the longest is spelling. I'm live streaming right now. Please join me. All right, there. I haven't done that share for the morning live streams yet. So that's good. Oh, thank you, Cindy Lynn. She shared and done. She says done and done. Done and done. So good morning. It is Wednesday morning, August 8th. And we have really beautiful weather here this morning in Toma, Wisconsin. It's sunny, blue skies. We had fog earlier this morning, but it wasn't in our area. In other elevations here, they had fog. And I always tease my mom. I always say, nothing. How do I say that? Everything good always happens on Elm Avenue, because that's the name of our street. Or we always have great weather here on Elm Avenue, because we never see the fog. We never notice the fog. Now down here in my home office, it is down in the basement level. And so it's an older home. It was built probably 24 or 5 years ago or so. And so the basement windows are those old kinds, that are kind of long and are kind of more rectangular, not very wide. But wouldn't you know it, the sunshine, and I'm not going to complain, the sunshine is coming in a way that it screws up my lighting. Well, that's all right. Linda Lafferty's with us too. Good morning, Linda. I'm so glad you guys are with me this morning. So let me just fill you in on what's going on around here. We have loads happening. It's all good stuff too. So the reason why I'm broadcasting from my home office rather than the academy is because Paul and I have been planning this for several months now. We figured out a way to be able to put in a bathroom up at the academy. So we don't have running water up there. We didn't put in a well and a septic up there. Our plan has always been is to have it off the grid system. So we'll also be putting up solar panels at some point. But the people who constructed the construction company called the Moose Construction Company, I know Moose as in the ones with the antlers, right? They built the building for us, and we love those guys. But they're also putting in the bathroom for us. And it's not a huge project by any stretch for what they do, right? And so they were going to use our project like on a rainy days when they couldn't work outside. Well, since we signed the contract with them, it really hasn't rained all that much, not during the daytime anyway. And so we've kind of patiently been waiting because we know that they're busy. Well, I got a call yesterday afternoon saying, guess what? The guys are going to be at your place tomorrow. She couldn't exactly give me an actual time. And so I just broke down the studio up there and moved a lot of the stuff back down to the house because I didn't want to be in the middle of our live stream this morning and have them show up and start hauling in their equipment and all of that. So we'll be broadcasting from my home office, at least probably for the rest of this week. And I don't know about next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday. Like I said, it's not a huge project, but it is going to take them a few days. So that's the number one. That was the, oh my gosh, we got to get things moved. That was last night, and this morning was to get the studio here set up. My lighting is not exactly what I like, but it's the best I could do in a short period of time. So hopefully for the show or for the class, the mini class tomorrow night on the Academy closed group, my lighting will be better. I get a little time to work with it, very little. But the other thing that's going on that I am excited about, well, there's a couple, is that with the magazine, Star Nations magazine, the September issue, I was working on it last night because our layout specialist, Elf Elm, they were finished with putting all of our final edits into the PDF. And so it's back in my court now, on my side. And what I'm doing, and I started it last night, is that in the digital version of the magazine, we have the ability to put hot links, right, embedded into the magazine. And so all of the links that go to our contributing writers' websites, to their fan pages on Facebook, the videos, all of that has to be inserted and embedded. And so that's what I do. It takes me about 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours, depending on how big the magazine is, and also if I find any other situations that have to be corrected. And so it's kind of like the not quite the quality test, but it's pretty darn close. Good morning, Stephanie. Oh, and Rob's here, and Elise is here. That means possibly Mary Ann is here too. Good morning, everybody. I'm just kind of explaining why I'm broadcasting from my home office, from Star Nation Central, basically. And so anyway, the magazine is we're fast approaching the publication date, which is the 10th. And so I'm going to finish up, we called it optimization. And so I'm finishing that up after this live stream. Should probably take me another hour or two, and that'll be done. And then we can move on to the next piece, which is testing. And that is the final quality check. And sometimes that's where we have to do some tweaking, because sometimes the links don't work. Sometimes the video won't play, those kinds of things. Or we find things that, we have so many eyes looking at it, but there's always those things that crop up. Like everybody has seen it, like, at least 4 different people have seen it. And it's like, oh, we didn't realize that we were missing a header here or something like that. It's usually not quite that drastic. Coffee. Okay, so we're doing that, and we're looking at a different method for the email situation, because I haven't sent out a newsletter in a long time. And so we're getting that situated, and we found a new vehicle to ride in for that. And I'm excited about that one because it's going to help streamline some things. Yay. That always means things are a little bit easier on this side. Good morning, Nivya. So glad you're here with us this morning. And what else? There's, and of course there's Mom. She's really hanging in there with all these quick changes. And she's actually feeling pretty good. And that's always a good thing. Pain level is manageable, and she's got an appetite, which is always good to see, right? And Paul is doing so much better. Some of you don't know that he was diagnosed last week with pneumonia. He went to work on Monday, which I was kind of about, but he did fine, and he's doing pretty good. So things are rolling in that area. So we got a lot of good things happening here, a lot of good things. The other thing that I'm working on later on today, this afternoon, is I'm getting the final preparations done for the class that's coming up this weekend, the Introduction to Shamanic Journey. Yeah, we've got some people showing up for that, and it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure how this is going to work with the construction thing. I know that they won't be working while we're up there, but we'll see. We'll see what kind of construction stuff they leave behind when they come back next week. So I'm working on that, and so it's a really full schedule, but we got a lot of good things happening, and I wanted to share that with you. Now, for those who are just joining us and they don't know what this live stream is really about, every day I draw a card, and these days 2 cards, to see what kind of energy is important for us to know about for today. And we just recently switched Oracle decks. We were using the Sacred Path deck by Jamie Sams, and we recently switched to this deck, the Sacred Geometry Oracle deck by Francine Hart. And this is copyrighted, I should say, in 2001. This is the very first Sacred Geometry deck I had found back in 2002 when I took the dive into Sacred Geometry. And so, yeah, it's been around for a while. You can kind of tell by the book that it's been used just a little bit, just a bit. So this morning's card draw, I draw 2 cards from this deck because how Francine has this set up is that just to check the energy, she has a card draw that is a 2-card draw. And in the layout, on the right-hand side, the first card is in the masculine energy, and it has logic and thinking. It has the energy of Grandfather Sky in there. And so, it's really our mental aspect of understanding the card. And then on the left-hand side for the second card is the female side. And that has our intuition and feelings and emotions and the energy of Grandmother Earth. All right. And the reason why Francine has this way of drawing the cards for an easy card read is because we have the balance of the male and female, and that is the polarity, right? And so when we have them together, we have balance. And so the information that's coming through is coming to us in a way that it's holistic, okay? And that it represents the whole, WHOLE. And so when we receive the information in all levels of it, the energetic and the verbal and the whole thing, is that we're receiving it in its wholeness, okay? And so that our physical bodies, our mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies are taking it in its wholeness, and rather than in the duality of it, okay? I hope that makes sense. And so the first card that came in, Cindy Lynn says, "I love your mug." Yes. Now that I'm down at the house, I don't have to use a travel mug. This is the seal for the tribal nation that I am enrolled in. It's the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation. That's our seal, our governmental seal. Yeah. Yeah, that's the Potawatomi in me. Good morning, Jocelyn. I'm so glad you're here. All right, so the first card The first card that came is this one, the Earth Grid. Yeah, I hope you guys are okay with this lighting. This is a very interesting card. I'm going to hold it up here just for a little bit because you can see how the lines go around the Earth, the depiction of the Earth. They're intersecting lines, the Earth Grid. Now, the Earth Grid goes by many different names. I'm going to read just a couple of them to you, okay? Because it's a possibility that you know it by a different name. So it's also called the Gaia Grid. It's called the Galactic Web as well. The Osheti Sakoi, the Great Sioux Nation, they call it the Creation Grid. Yeah. So, you know, back in the 80s, some of you might remember this, when the stars, what is it? It was 1987 and 1992 and 93, the convergence, right? Many light workers all over Grandmother Earth were working diligently in connecting to the Earth Grid, and in some cases they were actually helping Grandmother Earth to repair the grid. All right, and the reparation of the grid was completed back in the late 90s. I want to say it was 1999. And so we call them the first waivers. Those energy workers, those light workers, that were actually probably at the very start, like in the 70s. And a lot of them were baby boomers, actually. Most of them were. All right, so Francine writes that the idea of the Earth is a geometric shape goes back at least as far as ancient Greece. So it's a very ancient concept that surrounding the Earth, that there's geometric shapes, okay? And many people believe that, our bodies replicate her, Grandmother Earth. And so the grid system is a part of her auric field. So just like us, when we have a trauma, that sometimes our auric field, our grid system, gets a hole or a tear in it. And that is what happened to Grandmother Earth. And that's why those early light workers were part of that reparation for it. Now, you know, given the state of the environment, I'm sure that there's many people who are checking that grid system to make sure it's still intact. And as far as I know, I haven't heard any different that it's weakened or that it's in ill repair, right? Now, that doesn't mean that we should stop trying to protect Grandmother Earth in many different ways. Those water protectors, the sacred site protectors, that we should still be doing our part to keep her safe, right? Yeah. All right, so Francine says that the geometry of the Earth grid is a dodecahedron. So that we know that the dodecahedron is the shape, they're part of the Platonic solids, okay? The Platonic friends, the building blocks of all life. And the dodecahedron represents spirit, ether, prana, okay? So, and the icosahedron represents water. Yeah, water. Just stop and think for a second. Water. And so when you put the two together, it's spirit and water. And when you take a look at Earth, and we know that the Earth, by mass, water has a much higher percentage than land, right? So it kind of makes sense that it would be spirit, prana, ether, and water. And if you take a look at the dodecahedron, you can kind of see triangles in there. You can see the dodecahedron. It kind of looks like a house shape. It's got like a slanted roof and the walls and the floor kind of situation there. Yeah, the dodecahedron. And it embodies, this is what I love about it, it embodies fellowship, community, and our collective consciousness. Yeah. So the collective consciousness is, I know, isn't that right? Cindy Lynn is saying, that's a mouthful. Yes, a dodecahedron. And I'm going to put the book down for a second, and I'm going to type that in there so you guys have it, okay? I want to make sure I spell it right. Dodecahedron. Make sure it's spelled right. Icosahedron. ICOS. Yeah, I'm missing the O. I knew it didn't look right. Okay, so that equals spirit or prana and water. All right, so so it represents community. It represents fellowship. It represents our collective consciousness. And the collective consciousness is different than the mass consciousness, okay? The mass consciousness is everybody, everyone, all the two-leggeds that inhabit Grandmother Earth. The collective consciousness is the higher vibration of the mass consciousness, all right? So it's very much spirit-led in the collective consciousness. And so many of the spiritual concepts start out in the collective consciousness and then filter down into the mass consciousness. So a good example of this, there's two of them. Back in the early 2000s, I can remember walking through a restaurant down near Madison. It was a Mexican restaurant, really great food. And I was taking my time getting to the table because I was listening to snippets of conversation as I was walking through. And the amount of times that I heard the word energy, spirit, shamanism, I sat down, I thought, wow, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you wouldn't have heard that. People would have been talking about it, but it would have been whispered. And they'd be looking around to see who's sitting around them and who would be listening to that kind of conversation. It was much different, right? And so I realized in that moment that that spirituality, those vocabulary, energetic words had made it into the mass consciousness, right? The essence of them. The other one was feng shui. Because when I started studying feng shui back in 1996, there was only 3 books on feng shui. And, now you look and it's like, oh my God, there's, like shelves after shelf after shelf of information about feng shui from many different perspectives. And it ended up on HGTV. And I used to say, thank goodness for HGTV, because so many people recognized the phrase feng shui. And so it ended up in the mass consciousness, right? Yeah. So there is a slight difference between a mass consciousness and the collective consciousness. She also says, Francine says, that energy vortices and sacred sites abound at places where these geometric lines intersect, and many of those lines in the atmosphere above us as above, so below, right? That many of those intersecting on dodecahedron lines are also found on the earth, in the earth. I messed up my focus. There you go. And so many times the ley lines also follow the lines of the grid system of Grandmother Earth. As above, so below, right? Okay. So Francine says, because this card came to us, we're being asked to look at the way energy moves and to observe the choice points in our lives that amplify or diminish our energy. In other words, what do you feel brings you to your fullest potential? And where does this happen? So sit in a little bit of reflection. And when was it that you felt the most confident, or the most peaceful, the most joyful? And where were you at in that time frame, in that moment? Many times maybe you were home, which is great, but she just wants us to notice it, what it felt like, and where were you located. She says that as you act in fellowship with humankind, community is created. And I have to tell you that when we first started Star Nation's organization, it started out with just, the internet radio. And we blossomed from there. And our community here has become like family, right? How we support each other. And many of us have never even physically met. And yet when the call goes out, that something has occurred in your life and you need support, could somebody send some prayers my way? You could get a lot of people praying for you. So community, like-minded people. And not just like-minded, but also like-hearted, and how we relate to each other. How we're in, for instance, either Julie Hedges' show or Polly Joe's shows, and we're in a healing environment that's being extended to us, right, to help us along our path. To me, that's pure love. That these women would provide the sacred space to be able to do that in. And then you have the guys, Paul Krauss and Mervyn Kelly and Carl Franklin, and how they provide information that makes you go, huh? Really? It makes you think about something in a different way, to see it in another perspective, or to explain something like the stones and crystals the way that Mervyn Kelly does, and how Paul brings in our modern day and how we're adjusting or not adjusting to it, and having a guest like Frances Robbins on to help us understand from her point of view as a psychiatric nurse. Yeah, so it is that community. It is that community. Holistic. Yeah. And Mary is sending us hearts. And Cindy Lynn saying, I feel at home and peace and loved listening to Star Nation's shows. And the first time I felt like I was home in complete peace was in Spearfish Canyon, South Dakota, after the loss of my husband, went to heal and reconnect with nature and spirit. Aw. Cindy Lynn, the fact that you even took the moment to say, where was that? How did that feel? That's a huge step in itself. And then to share it with us. So I'm grateful for that, that you shared it. Yeah. And feeling like you have a place to go to get not just to get information, but to interact in the live chats. You know, that I think that's huge. You don't have to feel like you're the only one out there. I have a good friend of mine, one of my sisters, Christine. She lives in Iowa, and you know, she used to feel past tense, that she was pretty isolated, that there weren't many people in her area that she could sit down and have a spiritual conversation with, right? Um, and now she does. And she does. She has us, and she has started the conversation herself in several different places in her home community in Iowa. And so it gives us also the encouragement, I guess, is to go out and have those kind of conversations. So fellowship, Francine writes, with like-minded individuals can be seen as a communication grid that connects you by travel or by technology to exactly what you need to learn and experience in this moment in time. It's exactly what we're talking about, right? Yeah, Grandmother Earth. You know, and grandmother, that's why we call her grandmother, is because Earth is a female planet. Earth is a female planet. It's one of the reasons I think that we have so much water on Earth. You know, and when I study the medicine wheel and I'm teaching it from my perspective, because there's so many different ways to perceive the medicine wheel, is that our Earth walk, the walk that we're here to do to learn our life lessons, to master our skills, and to use our gifts. For me, that is the walk between the East and the West. The East and the West. And it's called the Blue Road or the Black Road. That's where we have, I don't know, that's where we have the most the most adventures, you know, because we're moving from the East, which is our mental mind, our mental thought. It's very masculine. And we're making our way to the West. And in the West is water. It's female. It's about emotions and intuition. And so what we're doing is we're learning about both so we can balance that. And when we balance that, we're balancing it, and our soul is leading at that point. And so we're striving for the high heart, the high heart. And so we don't live our life completely in the mental world, and we don't live our life completely in the emotional world, that we're balanced in between. And Grandmother Earth can help us do that. That's why we're here. Well, one of the reasons why we're here. All right, so the second card that came is this one. It's the Torus. Oops, the Torus. And you've heard me talk about the Torus before. This is a 3D of the Torus. This is like looking down from the top. And it looks kind of like a donut in a way. The Torus field, or the toric field. And the image below here is a rendition, artwork of a crop circle that was found in 1999 in the UK. And when you first look at it, the first time I saw it, I thought it was kind of looking down from the top down, looking at like a rosebud, right? But what it is it's the center. It's the center of the toric field. It's this right here, right in the center is this. And so in the toric field, when you get closer to the center, the energy is a little bit tighter, right? Yeah, a little bit closer. It's a little bit more powerful, I guess is the only word that comes to me, in the toric field. And I can put that, we're talking about Taurus. It's not the sun sign or the astrological sign. Taurus field, also known as the toric field. And so the toric field is magnetic. It's magnetic energy because the earth is magnetic, right? And I have to sit here for just a second thinking about that. All right, so the Torus field is when energy is flowing. Grandmother Earth has something called a pranic tube, okay, because we have the same thing. It's also known as the crystalline tube. And universal energy constantly flowing down through the top and up through the bottom. And it's that flow of from downward to upward, and it's constantly flowing, and it circulates. And that is what creates the toric field. And that crystalline tube or the pranic tube goes right straight through the center of the body. Whether it's grandmother's body or if it's our body, it's right straight through the center. If you study anything about chakras, it's also known as the Hara line. Okay, so it goes down through our crown chakra, all the way down through the center of us, down into the earth. And so it's that movement of the energy field of the universe, universal energy flowing through us all the time. Whether you are aware of it or not, it's a constant, gentle flow. When it flows through the earth, it's called an earth energy. It's one of her earth energies, goes through her auric body. And the same thing happens for us. It's that constant flow. It connects us to everything in the universe. All right, so I'm going to show it to you one more time here. We can look at it. Francine writes that it's a primal shape of the universe. The human heart has 7 muscles that forms a torus. It is the shape of the Earth's magnetic field. So when you join me for the Unity Breath meditation once a month, I talk about this because this is the one of the aspects of that Unity Breath meditation is this toric field, because we're all breathing the same energy. It's like breathing the same air through your lungs, but this is breathing through your crystalline tube, bringing in that universal energy. And many times all you have to do is turn your attention to it, your focus to it, and talking to your spiritual team and ask them, show me, help me sense that flow of universal energy through my crystalline tube, and notice what happens. Noticing how it feels. The term or the phrase, what unites us, right? We have many things that do. Knowing that we're bringing in automatically, there's nothing we have to do. There's nothing we have to buy. There's nothing we have to study. It's already there. That it's already there flowing through us. All of us. Not just us two-leggeds, but the four-legged and those who swim, the stone people, all things green. We all have the same thing. All right, so Francine says that this card connects you to the energy fields of the earth and your heart connection to her. And Francine is asking us to take an opportunity today to find a place in nature, no matter how small, and reconnect your energy with that of the planet. Use all your senses and really feel this magnetic connection. Grandmother Earth nurtures us and grounds us and feels the love that we have for her. And we can feel the love that she has for us and how she nurtures us. Yeah. So the toric field and the earth grid. Now the earth grid. Get them mixed up. Don't look at the camera. Oh my gosh. All right. So the earth grid was on the male side of the card draw. So bringing in the information and the essence of the meaning of the card through the mental thought, logic, rationalization, right? And then you layer that with the female side, which was the Taurus. And what these two cards are talking about are Grandmother Earth and how we connect to her. We connect to her individually, but where our love and our strength lies is together in community. Yeah? And, the toric field passes right through the heart chakra. And in teaching the Awakening Illuminated Heart years ago, is that where Grandmother Earth and Grandfather Sky meet is in our high heart, And we get to feel that every single day. In fact, they show us twice a day. They show it twice a day. They show it to us in the physical mode, in the sunrise and in the sunsets, how they love each other. And they show their love to us in that way. And so we get to appreciate it and feel that the love that they have for us, their divine child. And so we have the opportunity, both in the collective and in the mass consciousness, to do that, to understand it. And these two cards, I really believe the energy information for today is all about our connection, through the toric field to Grandmother Earth, and that we're universal beings. We're also earth beings of earth, but we're also universal beings. And that's what the toric field shows us, because it's universal energy flowing through there, and we have it. Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? It could be a couple new, perspectives for you. It could be some new information for some of you that may not have been familiar with the toric field. Most of us know about the Earth energy grid. Most of us do. But the toric field is maybe something a little new for some of you. But I don't, maybe not. Maybe it is in the mass consciousness already. Guys are kind of quiet. Makes me wonder about Facebook and the Facebook connection. I'm going to check it. Because what happened yesterday is some people were kicked out for some reason. Don't know why. But they were, and then they were having problems coming back in. It took them a while. Nope. You guys are, hopefully you're just taking it in. Cindy Lynn says, looks like a black hole or a center of a hurricane. Yes, it does. Because when you think about a hurricane or even a tornado, if you're looking down at it, you can see how the wind feeds in to it and does that torquing of the energy, creating that funnel. Okay, it's the same concept. It is. Okay. And Stephanie's saying, listening while trying to convince kiddo to wear clothes. Well, I was going to say, I understand. I understand having the need to wear clothes. But isn't there something freeing about not? You think about, I don't know. There's something free about not. And I can imagine that Ben, if you can hear me, there's a good reason why Mom wants you to put some clothes on. Yeah. That's because that way you can go have an adventure out there, out into the world, and do some good stuff out there. Have some fun. But having clothes on, yeah. Actually, think of it as a protective layer. A protective layer. Kids, Did you ever notice how kids put their shoes on? Some of them, not all of them, and how they get the left and the right. Sometimes I have to ask my sister Sharon about that, because she does brain gym, and is an instructor for brain gym. In fact, I'm trying to get her up here to teach a class about it. And how that works, and why some kids, some people, will do that automatically. They don't even think about it. They just do it. Interesting stuff. I know it has nothing to do with sacred geometry. It was just a passing thought. Cindy Lynn says, lucky I haven't had that problem today. I did what you said and called in Mercury to clear. Good. Excellent. Stephanie saying, my little nudist. Yeah. Yep. There's lots of kids that do that, though. We used to have a neighbor that their little boy would be outside, and he'd be running around having a good time and stuff. Pretty soon he'd start taking off his clothes. It's like, and his mom would come out and chase him around to try to corral him and to get him redressed or take him in the house, and yeah. Yeah, I'd be more concerned if it was a 60-year-old guy doing the same thing. I'd be a little bit more concerned about that, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. All right. So please, whatever we shared today with the toric field and also with the earth grid information for the energy of today, just notice how the day unfolds for you, how the energy flows for you today, and how the information from the cards that we shared, how does that look for you today? And I always say, and this is what I do, is like, okay, I noticed this. And so am I a participant in it, a direct participant? Am I using the information in a way that affects my day, right? Or am I a witness? Am I watching, seeing someone else experiencing the information from the cards, and how are they doing this? What are they doing? What are they not doing? And both you get to learn from. It's fascinating too. And then there's the other part, is if it didn't resonate with you, and that's okay. That's all right. And I say this every day. Sometimes we're just planting seeds, and other times maybe you're the messenger, and that you get to share the information with somebody that who has been looking for information like this, or that you know would enjoy it. And you can always share the recorded video with them, right? You can share it here on Facebook, and you can also go out to our YouTube channel, Star Nations Organization YouTube channel, and all of the card draw live streams are also there. So if you want to share it with somebody outside of Facebook, you have the opportunity to do that as well. Yeah. In fact, I'll put the link in the comments after the show, after the live stream, and you can share that out if you want. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think so. You know, tonight is Polly Joe's healing hour. It's called Soul Connections. If you are a light worker, an energy worker of any kind, and you haven't had the time or taken the time to do your own healing work, that's what this evening is all about. Polly Joe helps to set the sacred space for us. She helps us in doing the clearing, not individual clearing, but helps us to clear as a group. What we do is we bring our spiritual team with us and set the intention of what we would like to work on for that meditation. And so we're working with our own individual spiritual teams in the healing work that we have maybe procrastinated about or set aside from whatever reason. Wednesday evenings are a time for us to be able to do our own healing. And then she does a card draw individually for messages for those who would like to have a message. Yeah. So that's on at 7 p.m. Eastern, and I know I'll be there. Maybe I'll see you in the chat there. Cindy Lynn saying something here. She says, my 3 boys always liked being naked when they were young, so I compromised and said they could have naked time in their room for a small amount of time as long as they kept their clothes on out in public. Well, there's a compromise. Yeah, Cindy Lynn saying, so fascinating. I love it. And saying thank you. Well, you're welcome, Cindy Lynn. And she said, can't wait for tonight. Been needing to get back on track after a busy summer. Yeah, I know. I hear you. And I'm looking forward to it too. Because I do the meditation too. I try to fit it in as many times as I can in the month. And it is so very helpful. It really is. So with that, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you back here on Thursday. Yeah, for the card draw for tomorrow. Okay. Bama Mina, that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. Love you guys.